Hello, Abby of Abby Tales Pet Services, dog trainer here, feeling rather festive. It's Christmas Eve and I've decided it's high time I put a video out there about dogs and Christmas. I know it's a little late, but this Christmas week has been very hectic here over at Abby Tales Pet Services. I did touch on dogs and Christmas do's and don'ts and a little bit of advice during my Q&A on Monday on the 21st, I think it was. But I wanted to put something here so that people can easily find advice, do's and don'ts, and tips and things. I did partner up with Cockapoo Charlie Chapman on Instagram. Go check that profile out. It's fabulous. They do lockdown challenge and winter challenge. It's great. And we partnered up for a post about safe and unsafe foods. So you can, and I will link that here. And we're going to go into that in a bit more detail as well. I've just realised I've got a little duck tail going on with my hair. Anyway. So, unsafe foods for your dog in general, but specifically for Christmas time. Chocolate. I don't care what some people say. Chocolate is bad for dogs. You may find that your dog may have eaten something and wasn't ridiculously ill or didn't die. However, don't bank on that. It does depend on the size of the dog. It depends on the health of the dog. It depends on the percentage of cacao as well. But shouldn't take a risk. If my dogs were to eat any amount of chocolate, I would be straight at the vets. Just you can't, and I have big dogs. But anyway, so that's chocolate. So chocolate on the tree. I personally, with dogs and cats, but dogs wouldn't have chocolate on the tree. Make sure there are no edible presents under the tree as well. It's too tempting. So I always ask when people give me gifts, is there anything edible here? Specifically chocolate. You're not going to ruin the surprise. It's okay. I just want to keep my animals safe. To be honest, my girls don't go near my tree, but I don't want to tempt fate. So that's something that you can do as well. Don't leave chocolate out. I mean, when you have a dog, you shouldn't be leaving food out anyway because dogs are opportunist feeders. If there is food there, they're going to want it. If their leave command is really hot and you've trained that really well, if you were to say leave, then they should leave. Then not necessarily. But if you don't say leave, then they're not going to necessarily leave it. To be honest, my girls do, but they know what is expected of them. They do not touch my food, but I don't leave it out for them because that's ridiculously tempting. It's not very fair either. And you're playing a bit of a dangerous game, leaving toxic foods out. But yes, speaking of toxic foods, currants, sultanas, raisins, anything to do with grapes and things like that, dried fruit, not a good idea. Toxic. Tummy upset, can be deadly actually. Again, the smaller the dog, the larger the problem with most toxins. However, you shouldn't really take the chance with that. So Christmas pudding, Christmas cake, mince pies, a no-go. Alcohol is bad for dogs. They do actually, it's been said that they get drunk, which may be funny for some of you, but no. But it can really upset the tummy and do other things as well, which we won't go into. I'm just giving an overview here. You can do your research if you want to. There are lots of articles available, but still. Nuts. Just stay away from nuts in general, I would. Now, the allium family. The allium family contains vegetables such as onions, garlic, leeks, shallots, chives, that kind of thing. Onions are an absolute no-go. Extremely dangerous. Okay, hence why stuffing and gravy, bad idea. Unless you can guarantee that onion in an onion extract, essence, whatever, isn't in the gravy, bad idea. Also, gravy is quite rich, so it's not a good idea for dogs either. If you want to, you can make them bone broth for them, but that's by the by. Garlic is kind of a... Some people will advocate that garlic, is really good for dogs. Some people not. There are traces of garlic in quite a few dog foods, but it's been prepared in a certain way. It's an extract. It's usually dried and things in supplements as well. So if you don't know how to prepare garlic properly for your dog, either do intense research or don't do it at all would be my advice. Okay. Now, so we've said chocolate, we've said allium family, we've said nuts, we've said currants. Bones. Okay, cooked bones. They can splinter. Not always. I'm sure some of you might comment and be like, well, mine haven't. Yes, I know, but there is a chance of splintering. It's best to give raw bones. Better for them too. And if you were worried about bacteria and things on raw bones, you can freeze them and then defrost them and then give them to the dogs. Right, so that's unsafe foods. Safe foods would be vegetables such as green beans, carrots, cauliflower. Carrots raw or cooked. Potatoes are okay depending on how they've been cooked. Don't give them raw. If you want to give them a bit of your meat, give them a lean bit. That's the best. Because fatty, it isn't dangerous, but it's not healthy for them either. If you are wanting to give them leftovers, as it were, a little bit of their own Christmas dinner, that's fine. But I would prepare it and like put it to one side so it's separate, so it's not going to be touching the chutneys or the gravies or the hot sauce in my boyfriend's case. If you see what I mean, so it's nice and separate. Now, I would also suggest to not feed your dog at the same time as you having Christmas dinner and dinner in general. It's best to feed them afterwards or feed them a while before. It's just, it's not a good idea. It's not a good habit to get into. It can create all sorts of unwanted behaviour. And if your dog is begging for food, then you should pop them either in their crate or in another room. It shouldn't be allowed, because that can impact their behaviour in general. So impact their behaviour on a walk as well as in the house, which we do not want. Now, another important thing for Christmas is to have a safe space for your dog take themselves to or be directed to when needed. So bed, crate, even if you just want blankets, whatever. So I have crates and I have a big bed and I have multiple vet bedding, which is a godsend, by the way. I would look it up. You can buy it in individual pieces or in rolls. And I have a piece of vet bedding on the bottom step of my stairs, usually, but it's being washed. And at the top of my landing as well, because that's where my girls have gravitated to. Pardon me. And then a big bed on the side of the sofa and crates in the kitchen. So I say crate and I say on your bed. It's best to have a command for these places, whether you want to use the same command or have a different command because they're different, if you see what I mean. But be consistent with the term that you use for any command, to be honest. But yes, because then they know that they can take themselves away if things are getting a bit too much when you have family over. I know that's not necessarily going to be the case depending on where you are due to COVID. But lots of unwrapping going on, especially with children getting really excited, which is normal, that's fine, but make sure your dog has a place to go. And if your dog gets too excited, you can direct them to that place, nice and calmly, obviously. If you're okay with them having wrapping paper, cardboard and things to play with, that's fine. I give my dogs cardboard, but be careful of foil, be careful of tinsel, glass decorations, things like that, and anything that can get lodged. Best to supervise, really. Well, I mean, if it's paper or cardboard, but it shouldn't really be eaten. But if they want to play with that, that's fine. But yeah, safe space. Best. And then also if there's fireworks or you've got the TV blaring, which I wouldn't recommend, but still a drunken uncle, then they have somewhere to go. Also, for when you're eating, you can encourage them to go on their bed. It might take a while. Really, you should get this sorted before Christmas. But this is something to bear in mind. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about, one more thing I think, I'm pretty sure, I might think of something else, is walking. So I just wanted to give a little bit of a heads up. So usually, may not be the case this year due to all the weirdness that we're having, but usually Boxing Day and New Year's Day are extremely popular for walking. So for popular places to visit, such as the Lickey Hills, Malvern Hills, Waisley Hills, you know, all sorts of parks and nature parks and things like that. Just mentioning West Midlands and Worcestershire here, but they are usually inundated with people walking with dogs, with children, by themselves, loved up couples, elderly couples, all sorts of things. If your dog isn't ready for that amount of people, if you don't want to be around that amount of people, then I would suggest going earlier on in the day or going somewhere else. So don't go to a popular destination for that time of year, or that, if you see what I mean. Because if you have a dog that is reactive or nervous, either of people or dogs, and you take them to that kind of place on that kind of day, it's highly likely that something is going to happen. So there are going to be dogs off the lead that shouldn't be off the lead. There are going to be children running around, and that's okay. But if that worries you or your dog, don't rush into going up a level regarding walking when your dog or you or both are not ready. It's okay. If you want a nice quiet walk, I wouldn't go to a popular place. Now, a lot of you will already have had candles out and plants and things because this is Christmas Eve, but just a little thing worth mentioning. Candles, be careful of the scent, especially with incense and oils as well. Be careful of the scent. There are certain scents, flavours, as my boyfriend calls them, that are poisonous to dogs. I'm not going to list them all here. It's best to just check, just research that, really. Maybe write out a list or whatever, and don't burn the ones that are dangerous, because it can actually affect your dog. It can make them lethargic, but in worst cases it can do all sorts of nasty things, and have them out of reach. Obviously plants should be out of reach anyway, but Poisonetta should be out of reach because it can give tummy problems, just like trees as well. Real ones can cause tummy upsets. They can knock them over. And pine needles, actually, if ingested, can basically scratch their insides, which we don't want. But you may have found that everything is fine with your Christmas tree. You may have already had a few accidents, but now you know for next year. But I think that's everything I wanted to cover. But I just want to show you this. So I signed up for guide dog updates every month, and I got a few of these cards through. I don't know if you can see, but this is dangerous food at Christmas. Great, this came literally yesterday when I already wrote my list down, but it's a good reminder. So like I said, chocolates, nuts, onions and garlic in the allium family, Christmas cake, mince pies in the same kind of family, grapes and raisins, chicken and turkey bones, any bones to be honest, but and alcohol. Oh, and sweets because of the sugar, but also because of sweeteners such as xylitol. Xylitol can be found in sweets, it can be found in chewing gum, it can be found in certain peanut butters, and amongst other things. Be very careful, read the back of packages, but you shouldn't give dogs sweets anyway. Find good, well-made, non-fatty dog treats instead, or make your own. Find recipes, it's best really. Do not give them sweeties. Also, if you have things to dress your dog up in and they really don't like it, I know this is kind of common sense here, but don't put them in it. If it's stressing them out, don't put it in it. If you really want to try, like putting a hat on or a jumper or something, then desensitize them to it just like you would with a harness and a collar, nice and gradually. I can put things on my dogs to take pictures because I use it as a training exercise, and bless them, they trust me and they just sit there. I wouldn't say they love it, but they're not upset, they're not stressed or anything. I don't think they'd appreciate walking around with it all the time, but just bear in mind your dog may not have the same viewpoint as that elf outfit as you. Okay, so we're going to leave that there. Thank you for tuning in. Any questions, pop them in the comments. Have a wonderful Christmas and a wonderful New Year. Keep safe. Keep going. Keep sane. And don't forget mental stimulation with your dogs as well. Just tuck them out a little bit for Christmas time and have a chill with them as well. And have a lovely Christmas Day walk. I would as well. Merry Christmas.